We are just a thought away from everything and anything.
I would like to define ourselves as curious people.
Hello there. Welcome to Globant.
We wanted to show you guys something cool we implemented.
The challenge was to become 100% digital.
I don't intend to make this chivalrous audience wait anymore.
So even as a front-end developer who doesn't know a thing about machine learning, you could use the existing models.
As you move between different frameworks, technologies, platforms,
Or if you write an entire website using Flutter and you want to hinge it with
And we pass that as a part of HTTP header.
Hello and a very good evening to all of you. Welcome to the third edition of UINXT. I'm Vaidehi.
And I'm Mukund, and we are your hosts for the evening.
We bring to you mind-blowing and mind-losing topics from the UI world. We strongly believe that the best way to predict the future is to create it.
So here we are, bringing you for the very first time an entirely virtual experience filled with some of the most amazing talks in the sphere of UI. Along with the talks, we also have our virtual booths that will open from 7 to 8 p.m. today.
To have some wonderful goodies come your way, make sure to post some interesting tweets with the hashtag UINX2021. Without further ado, let's take a quick glance into one of our virtual booths. Here we go.
Amazing stuff, isn't it? Do make sure to check them out at 7 p.m. today. I will now hand over to Shivraj Sabre, who is the head of India Development Center, and Ritesh Menon, who is head of UI engineering here at Globant, for a welcome keynote and kickoff.
Hey folks, a very good evening and welcome to this amazing web conference. We have an amazing lineup of events as well as talks today. I am really excited and I'm very happy for each one of you that you found time in your busy schedules to be here. This is a really good time that you're investing in yourself, and I believe the best time that you can spend getting to know so many more things that is happening on the user experience and the user interface front. The whole paradigm of user interface itself is changing, and it's amazing to be on the cutting edge of it. So welcome all of you. I want to quickly give you an overview of Globant. And to understand Globant, I believe one of the key things is to understand what is happening in the industry. What we're seeing is we're seeing a huge disruption in terms of how companies are going to be relevant, as well as how they're going to even survive in the next decade or so. We're seeing a lot of companies who are facing an existential crisis, and for them, no longer is there a need just for creating another fancy app or a fancy web app, but the real need is to completely transform their business to be more relevant to the next 10 years, 20 years. That is where Global comes in. Unfortunately, a lot of traditional IT outsourcing has been stuck in the old game. A very quick example is in the field of cricket, right? A lot of you would be cricket enthusiasts. And a quick question to all of you would be, do you believe Mr. Sunil Gavaskar would get selected in the team today? The answer mostly is going to be no, because what happens is most of the players today, the main key skill to be successful is to be physically fit. The game has changed. It used to be a 5-day game, now it's a 1-day game, and now just a 4-hour game. So what's very critical is how we move away from a very old, let's say, methodology of doing anything to a very new approach, and not necessarily in terms of technology, but also in terms of thinking completely ground up of how we do business. That is very, very critical, right? So when the game has changed, it is very important for the skills to be required to be successful to change, right? So the skills have to change, and so the players have to change, right? Similarly, when it comes to organizations, when it comes to companies, one of the main skills that is going to be very much required in this decade is going to be the ability for any company to be augmented. And when I say augmented, it's the ability to drive your processes, your culture, your delivery, and every aspect of a company through AI and machine learning. That's the way you're going to be able to scale, and that's the way you're going to be able to be more effective. And for that to happen, you can't just remain at a level where you're just creating POCs or creating solutions which are more on the, let's say, experimental phase. You have to really get your hands dirty, get into the solutioning, and start using the latest of technologies. The whole ecosystem, the infrastructure has really advanced and matured so that you can take advantage of the latest AI and machine learning libraries in every aspect that you do. The whole aspect of interfacing with the customers has changed. There's invisible interfaces, there are interfaces which will change completely ground up how you do business, right? So that is what we need to start thinking. And I think one of the main key things I would definitely urge all of you today is to keep an open mind when you're listening to all the talks, right? Similarly, with Globant, we are trying to embed that in our DNA. So along with Steve Wozniak, we launched augmented coding, which is a truly revolutionary change in how we are going to do coding in the future. Not only will the freshers or juniors be able to ramp up faster, but we also see architects and high seniority folks really focusing on technical and architectural problems rather than driving the same libraries or writing the same base libraries all over again. And it's not just coding. In our recruitment, in our delivery, in our career path, everything is now driven by augmented, right? Similarly, I think this whole concept of augmented is also applicable to the relevance of any IT personnel today. So if you're working in the IT industry, what does this mean for you? This means that you have to make a transition from the left to the right. For a lot of years, we have been stuck into identifying ourselves by the tools that we use. For example, I started identifying myself as I'm a React developer with 8 years of experience. I'm an Angular developer with 10 years of experience. Unfortunately, these are just tools that we use. You are someone who can truly transform a business or create end-to-end solutions, and for you, React and Angular is just a tool. That's very, very critical to understand. How do we move away from the tools becoming our identity, but to someone who's on the right, which is someone who has the ability to see the larger picture, someone who can translate every single line of code that you write into the business impact. If you're able to do that, you are being relevant, right? So that's very, very critical. And in all of this, the key thing to understand is this industry is growing very, very rapidly. The reason why this is even more important now is post the pandemic, these numbers of industry growth are expedited multifold. So, for example, in 2018, we expected this industry to be a 13.5 trillion worth. we expect this to be far over 53.3 trillion worth by 2023, right? So you can only imagine the kind of scope that every organization who's focusing on transformation solutions has in growing in this field, right? Now, in a nutshell, as Globant, what do we do? And if I were to give you a definition, it would be this: we transform organizations and businesses. Remember, we're not talking about technology yet. We transform organizations and businesses to be ready for a digital and cognitive future. And that's what defines in a nutshell very much what Globant is. And I think I would definitely welcome all of you to this amazing event. And won't take much of your time. I would let you move on to some of the best content you'll have and consume. So best of luck, and let's make it very, very interactive. Thank you.
Thank you, Shivraj. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ritesh Menon, and I head the UI Engineering Studio at Globant. On behalf of the entire UI Engineering community at Globant, I would like to welcome you all to the third edition of Globant UI Engineering's Premium Web Conference UINXT 2021. Hope you all are safe and doing well. We're glad to be back with yet another exciting and insightful conference, this time in a pure digital format. Unlike the previous two editions, this time we're all remotely connected to this conference. Hopefully, in due course of time, we can all look forward to getting together again. Let me start by telling you a story. This conference has its genesis 3 years back when, on a visit to Spain, I learned about the speciality of the strawberry plant. The strawberry plant, as I learned that day, is perennial. This means if you plant one now, it will come back next year and the following and the year after that. It may not bear fruit immediately, but once it does, it remains productive for a very long period of time. I set a goal with my team for the new UI Engineering Studio to create such a perennial story. A story where we keep exploring new avenues, do disruptive things, and constantly share our knowledge to build a huge community within Globant and outside. The UI Engineering Studio at Globant today is over 3,000 engineers, spread globally with expertise developing next-generation user interfaces across web, mobile, desktop, and other commonly used form factors. We use the latest and greatest technologies to build the next-generation user experiences for our customers. We keep sharing our knowledge via articles, tech talks, conferences, and workshops. To give you a perspective, in India alone, we have conducted more than 20 tech events in the last 3 years and published more than 100 tech articles. On your screen, you will see our Meetup and Medium account handles. I urge you all to subscribe to them and stay up to date with what we've been exploring. I always like to describe ourselves as curious, restless people. Our motto is to constantly keep exploring, constantly keep asking ourselves, what's next, what's more? Which is why this year, like every single year, we have an eclectic mix of talks on topics such as robotics, multi-platform development, full stack development, and sustainability. If you notice, the bedrock of all these talks are the same technologies that you love and use for creating great UI. We've been exploring the usage of popular UI development languages such as JavaScript, Swift, Kotlin, WebAssembly to create applications outside the realm of traditional UI development. Moving on, I would like to talk about a very important challenge of our times, climate change. With rising emissions, we're all tasked with resolving an issue at hand. At Globant, we believe that as a responsible organization, we need to find innovative ways and means to cut down on our carbon footprint, as well as help our clients achieve the same. Therefore, in addition to adopting practices in our day-to-day life to cut down emissions, we also incorporate best practices to create green software. We are proud to be associated with the Green Software Foundation. The Green Software Foundation is a non-profit with a mission to create a trusted ecosystem of people, standards, tooling, and best practices for building green software. It was born out of a mutual desire and a need to collaborate across the software industry. Globant is proud to be associated with it as a steering member. Today's talk on sustainability by Elena, Marisol, and Rashmi should give you an idea of our efforts in the direction. Humanity has a long way to go before it becomes a true multiplanetary species. Till that time, we all have a fiduciary responsibility to protect the only planet we have. Let's do our bit. Last year, if you remember, we introduced our mascot Ada. Ada, who represents all the wonderfully talented women we have at Globant. Ada, as you might remember, is a tribute to Ada Lovelace, considered to be the first programmer in the world. While we continue to focus on our gender diversity efforts, the true essence or the true objective of diversity and inclusivity is incomplete without us embracing people of all backgrounds, all walks of life, race, sexual orientation, and culture. We at Globant truly believe that innovative transformation can only happen with commitment towards inclusivity, diversity, and sustainability. Innovation and therefore progress cannot happen unless we tap into a diverse pool of talent, seek ideas without bias and without prejudice. I would like to conclude with a quote that I find to be truly inspiring. Learning and innovation go hand in hand. The arrogance of success is to think that what you did yesterday will be sufficient for tomorrow. Let us all, therefore, make a commitment to keep learning, to keep pushing the boundaries, to keep trying new things, and to keep sharing our learnings with each other to build a brighter, sustainable future. With that, I assure you, a very interesting conference spread over the next 3 days, filled with exciting tech content and innovative demos. Thank you. Hope you enjoy the conference as much as we did putting it together for you.
Hello, my name is Agustin Huerta and I am the SVP of Studios at Globant. I'm from Buenos Aires, Argentina right now. I won't be able to be alongside with you on this event, but I really want to thank you all for joining us today. Yes, and on the upcoming days also. Here in the UINXT, you're going to be able to feel and experience and learn about new technologies, about sustainable concepts also that we want to incorporate into our daily way of working and in the way we develop software and create the best experiences around the world. I'm sure that my friend and colleague Ritesh Menon, alongside with all his team, has prepared a great event for all of you to enjoy and live and have this amazing experience alongside with us. Without further ado, I again say thank you all of you for joining us today. Welcome to the event. Have a great event ahead, and I really hope you can enjoy it as much as we enjoyed creating it. Thank you very much.
Across the world, companies have been challenged to remain in constant evolution, transform their culture and business models, rethink their customer experiences, and take advantage of new technologies such as artificial intelligence. Companies face the challenge to become augmented organizations. At Globant, we help pave the way towards this future. We work together with businesses around the world to define their way ahead and augment their capabilities to create new approaches for processes, products, and strategies. We create agile and resistant cultures where teams not only create change, but also adapt rapidly, creating exceptional experiences for millions of people. We walk along this road relying on our set of disruptors and accelerators, driven by artificial intelligence. All of this boosted by our system of studios and agile pods, operating units that foster creativity and innovation. We are a native digital company focused on helping organizations rethink themselves and find their way forward through digital and cognitive transformation. The future is now, and it belongs to augmented organizations.
Thank you so much, Shivraj and Ritesh, for showing us all how we turn ideas into reality. We now move ahead to our very first talk of UINXT 2021. We all know that no challenge poses a greater threat to the future generations than climate change. Climate change is no longer a far-off problem. It is happening here and it is happening now. But how does it affect a programmer, you ask?
Well, Globant is committed to transforming companies through digital cognition, sustainability, inclusion, and diversity. To show you how to implement accelerators needed to achieve sustainable organizational fitness, here are Elena Moratini, Marisol Fonseca, and Rashmi Vishwakarma. Just a reminder, guys, to keep tweeting #UINXT. We have some great goodies for you in store today.
Okay, well, good evening, everybody, and very many thanks for having us on this topic of sustainable software development within the context of UINXT 2021. It is a great pleasure to be able to share with you some of our opinions, findings, ideas on how to make software development more sustainable. Why we have decided that this topic is relevant, that is because every action we take is an action that has associated a CO2 footprint or budget, and every action we take, or almost every one of them, can actually be digitalized. So there is actually a link between digitalization and carbon footprint, and we want to disentangle that link and quantify it. So I'm very happy to be able to introduce to you my colleagues, Marisol Fonseca and Rashmi Vishwakarma. Marisol is a sustainable business hacker. Rashmi is a tech developer director in Globant. And the three of us will take you through some of the understanding and ideas, as I said before, of sustainable software development. So, especially debating with Marisol, as we come from the same team, about sustainability, we discussed the principles and the way forward of sustainability in the industry. And what we found out, what somehow we understood together, was that sustainability today has moved from a project-based to a strategy-based method in the majority of the company that want to stay relevant and that are actually forward thinkers or disruptive companies, or companies that bring their strategy one step farther in order to accommodate the market and the society development. But discussing with Marisol, what came out was that possibly the next step will be that not only it's not anymore project-based, not only it's not anymore strategy-based, but it's becoming part of our DNA. So it is particularly important that we see sustainability as a new lens through which we basically understand, see, and promote the majority of the actions and strategies that a company is actually putting forward, making it become somehow naturally part of our DNA. And to do that, we really have not so much time. We know very well that we've entered the decade of action, a decade, i.e. 10 years between 2020 and 2030, in which we are really urged to face and try to solve the increase of temperature that the planet is facing. That is absolutely not an easy task. It's a humongous task and needs to start on very secure and robust building blocks. One of which is definitely understanding the carbon budget, which is associated to any project or any decisions we're about to take or start. So when we classically and somehow from our legacy business always talk and consider a financial budget when deciding about which project to embark on, today we need to be very careful associating to that financial budget what we call a CO2 budget, trying to understand what sorts of carbon footprint is actually associated to the project, the portfolio, the strategy, the decisions we're about to take. So since there is only a certain amount of CO2 that we can emit between now and 2030, we really need to make those numbers correct, add them up, and understand how to reduce them. So I think that from now on, I'm very happy to pass the word on to Marisol Fonseca, who will take us on, further on the concept of digitalization and sustainability. So Marisol, with great pleasure, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Lena, and thanks for this amazing intro. And yeah, so we have a really important time today because digitalization and sustainability are among of the most global industry trends, and they bring together a new world of know-how, expertise, competence, but also products and services. And we have a really big job for creating this intersection. So we have the opportunity to twin digitalization and sustainability to shape this zero carbon mindset, but also practices, because there is no business without sustainable business. And this is a very important statement because in the past we think that sustainability was something extra. Now we really need to be sustainable as the core of our business. So to become sustainable, we need to reimagine our business models. We really need to have this opportunity where sustainability is the real business, and we can do this through innovation. The world needs to move quickly from 51 billion tons of greenhouse gases that we emit to the atmosphere each year to net zero. And the guiding star for sustainable business needs to be our pace of change. Because if the rate of change on the outside exceeds the rate of change in the inside, the end is near. And we really need to reimagine and redesign our business and our projects to have this sustainability mindset and also way of work. So for us, sustainability is that dynamic equilibrium between people, planet, and profit. And digital transformation is the enabler of sustainable business. And also modern organizations need to internalize environmental and societal externalities to manage business uncertainty and risks. And today, data and awareness become smart decision drivers and impact metrics and indicators. So it's our time because all of us work on digital transformation, and we really need to have this sustainable DNA that Elena was talking before. So we really need to enhance sustainable IT for digital ecosystem. We need to have this sustainable DNA. We really need to put focus on human centricity, not only customer centricity. We really need to figure out the impact that we are having on the whole humanity. We really need to start developing this digital mindset, the interaction between physical world and digital world, in order to have this sustainable business design. So that's why today Rashmi is going to get a focus on why performance is so important. So the floor is all of yours, Rashmi.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sol, for covering this. Performance is paramount for sustainability. How it is? Let's see it today. Before we move ahead, let's look at some facts here. You know what? World data centers consumed last year more electricity than UK's entire consumption. The IT sector as of today alone consumes approximately 7% of global electricity. And data centers consume about 2% of global electricity as of today, and by 2030 it is expected to go this number up to 8%. Okay, so now what if I say performance of application has direct impact on your human emotions? If you don't believe me, let's see. Okay. Let's suppose your friend has tagged you on Facebook post, and with all the excitement you want to open the application, and if you keep on seeing this loader, what is the emotion that comes to your mind? You feel sad, right? Okay. Since morning you are waiting for one important email in your inbox, and the moment you got a notification, you will definitely want to open that email as soon as possible. And if you keep on seeing this loader, the emotion that you have is disgusting. You want to feel disgusting then? Salary has been credited today and I want to see the amount. And if I keep on seeing this spinner for a long time, I'll get angry. I'll be upset, right? Now, if you open your social media platform and you have all the information that is loaded on the page, the emotion that is there in your mind is, you will be happy, right? We all have encountered this screen some or the other day while doing the development. And the moment we see this screen, the feeling that I have is, oh my God, have I done something wrong? We get that feeling of fear, and hence I said performance of application has direct impact on human emotions. It may make or break the application. When we talk about making or breaking the application, there are some facts that has come out of recent business studies. Let's look at them. For Shopzilla, faster pages have more conversion rates than slower ones. For Auto Anything, cutting page load time by half led to an increase in sales. For very well known and popular search engine, Google, increasing latency by 100 to 400 milliseconds has reduced the daily searches. Similarly, for another search engine, Bing, 2-second delay led to a loss in revenue by 4.3% and click reduction as well. For Microsoft, 400 millisecond delay has resulted in reduction of query volume. For Firefox, very well-known browser, reducing page load time by 2.2 seconds has increased download by 15.4%. Yes, you heard it right. Reducing page load time by 2.2 seconds has increased downloads by 15.4%. And hence, to sum it up, I say performance is super important. Now, let's look at some areas that impact performance of any web application. First is programming, architecture that you adopt, and network issues that may arise. Under the hood of programming, first thing is poor programming logic. It may contain wrong data structure, wrong algorithms, or maybe wrong design patterns, some UI UX related issues, inefficient API designs. When we talk about network, issues based on network latency and bandwidth, DNS queries, and packet loss. Under the hood of architecture, it contains servers and hosting, cloud environment, incorrect configuration, and exponential increase in user traffic. Okay, so when I say exponential increase in user traffic, what do I mean by it? On 31st of December, when world welcomes New Year, we all love to share good wishes to our beloved ones. And while doing that, we all have encountered downtime on our favorite social media platform, aren't we? Okay, so here are some reasons for poor performance of any web application. User traffic, as we just discussed, poor responsive design, improper data loading, missing indexes, web page weight, themes. Yes, themes as well. You know, blue pixels consume 25% more energy than red and green pixels. No caching, web page load and time, external plugins. And this all is contributing you to not hit your target. But don't worry, we can accelerate the performance of application by performing cloud promise, by reducing number of HTTP requests, by doing some gzip compression techniques, by bundling all our JS, HTML and CSS files, by following some good load balancing techniques, by reducing number of colors in images, by doing minification and uglification of code, even by removing unnecessary comments, and by doing image compression, as well as if we follow right indexing. So if we do that, all these things will definitely get the target. Okay. As page load time goes from 1 to 3 seconds, the probability of bounce increases to 32%. What do I mean here is, the probability of user may leaving your page is 32% if page load time is from 1 to 3 seconds. If time goes to 1 to 5 seconds, the probability of bounce is 90%. If it goes to 1 to 6 seconds, the probability here it is 106%. If load time goes to 1 to 10 seconds, the probability of bounce increases to 123%. And of course, in today's world, nobody wants to wait. Okay. We can measure performance of any web application, and here are the matrices using which we can do it. Each matrix has different phase of user experience: FCP, SI, LCP, TTI, TBT and CLS. Let's see them in detail in next slides. When we talk about FCP, that is first contentful page, it is the time when page starts loading to when first content of page has been rendered. Here, as you see, I have searched for UINXT in the search bar, and first thing here loaded is the stop bar, and time taken to load this stop bar here is 0.8 seconds. So in terms of FCP score, it is good. Anything which loads below 1.8 seconds is good, and if it goes beyond 3 seconds, it is poor in terms of FCP. Second, speed index. When we talk about speed index, it measures how quickly contents of page are visible. For good user experience, it should be below 3.4 seconds. LCP measures the time which has been taken to load largest image or text inside the page. Time to interactive is the amount of time that page takes to become fully responsive, or we can say fully interactive. Anything which loads before 3.8 seconds is good in terms of time to interactive score. Total blocking time is a period between FCP and TTI. So here when we search UINXT, the total blocking time here as we see is 1370 milliseconds. CLS, it is an unexpected shift that happens during life of page. Here in this example, as we see, I wanted to go back. I didn't want to place this order, but this layout shift, which is unexpected, has happened and I accidentally have placed the order. This is really poor performance. Okay. Since we have learned the parameters of performance application, this is the score which has been generated by using Lighthouse tool for Google's landing page for desktop version. The score is 99%, whereas in case of mobile version, it is 76%. Similarly, for another search engine, that is Bing, the score is 100%. Yes, you heard it right. Lighthouse says Bing's landing page for desktop version is 100% performant. For mobile version, it is 90%. Okay, so we have seen these scores, but don't you want to know how does Lighthouse calculate this score? Lighthouse is using all these parameters that we have learned so far, and as we see here, LCP and TTI has highest impact on this score. You can take this and you can check the impact on score. Okay, since we are talking about performance and sustainability today, let's compare energy impact of this site over a period of 1 year. Let's assume an average of 10,000 monthly page will produce 74.84 kilogram of CO2 for Google and 98.46 kilogram of CO2 in case of Bing. Okay, so if we see this from different perspective, this number would be equivalent to half weight of sumo wrestler for Google, 0.66 weight of sumo wrestler for Bing. If you need to boil 10,140 cups of tea, it would emit equivalent amount of carbon dioxide as of Google and 13,341 as same of Bing. And you know what? It would require 4 trees to absorb this much amount of CO2 for an year for Google and 5 trees for Bing. If we see this from different perspective, and if we drive an electric car for 1113 km, it would produce equivalent amount of carbon dioxide, same as of Google, and 1327 km as of Bing. You as a web developer have all these tools to measure and make the application performant and make the future sustainable. Lighthouse, we have been talking about web page test, page speed insights, Webpack Bundler Analyzer, and network tools. We have been talking about Lighthouse throughout this session. So this is how it looks on your Chrome browser. We all have it. It's a plugin, and these are the parameters that we have learned so far. And this is the score for Twitter's landing page. It is an open source automated tool for improving web page qualities.
Rashmi, I love the phrase you said, nobody wants to wait. And that's why we bring together this example of Ecosia, that it's a company that has taken a step forward in sustainable future. Whenever you search the web with Ecosia, they use those profits that came from ads to really plant trees. So Rashmi, you can share us the numbers behind that, please.
Yeah, you know what? After every 1.3 seconds, they are planting a tree. They have over 15 million active users and have planted over 132 million trees. Yes, they have planted 132 million trees till date.
And because we don't have Planet B, we really want to share this presentation with you. And please, Elena, if you can conclude this presentation, please.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Rashmi. Thank you very much, Marisol. I think that all in all, between what we've heard before coming from Ritesh on the Green Software Foundation and all the details that Marisol and Rashmi have given us on the numbers and the quantification of the digitalization or use of technology that we've just heard, we have a very good data-driven attitude that we can take in while we're programming and while we're using technology. So I think that what we've just heard, it's, again, as I said before, a building block for quantifying our carbon footprint in many of the technology actions that we're taking. And it is really worth, even if indeed time is our rarest commodity, it is really worth to take some time and think about those numbers so that for the next step, we can actually use time better and we can save that amount of CO2 so precious in terms of carbon absorption. And I also invite, while thanking all of you for this great moment of sharing on sustainability and software and a new way of carbon thinking, I really invite everybody to try and do the calculations about how many trees do we really need to buffer what we're doing. Because even if, according to some opinion, that could be somehow a sort of basic understanding or basic reasoning, it is from basic things that we can move more relevant ones, or at least from that basic understanding, we can get those numbers correct and eventually find more sophisticated ways of compensating the CO2 that we produce. But if we all have in mind our working activity or our life activity, how many trees on how much CO2 would be needed to understand and compensate, I think that would be a very good first step further in terms of understanding what we're doing for greening softwares and for greening our entire ecosystem. So thank you very much to all of you. It was really a pleasure and an honor to be sharing these opinions with you. So thanks to the audience and to everybody for sharing this time with us and moving one step further, hopefully, in softwares and sustainability.
Hope you all follow what Elena, Marisol, and Rashmi talked about. It really makes a difference if we, as programmers, decide to put our best foot forward. There is a lot of power in our decisions.
Yeah, speaking of human decisions and interactions, there's been a lot of change lately, haven't you noticed? We don't interact like we used to, and every human contact is now being reduced to user interfaces. And it has been a great topic for us in computing always. But it is not more important. It has never been so important as now.
Talking about cognitive psychology, our next speakers will attempt to reveal the mysteries between human perception and its never-ending relationship with the user interfaces. I now welcome Pragati Rethekar and Jitesh Didia to talk a little about how and why our brains and the UI world are connected. Let's roll over the talk, the inevitable UI and the human psyche.
Hello, and a very good evening to everyone. Before I start with the talk, let me ask everyone a very simple question. What do you think weighs less, a pound of feathers or a pound of rocks? A pound of feathers, right? Well, the answer is wrong. Both weigh the same. It's 1 pound of each, remember? No worries, let's give it one more try.
Let's have an ice cream exercise. It's an exciting one. Folks, have you ever randomly come across having an ice cream someday by just walking down the street with your friends or colleagues and fulfilling that sweet tooth post delicious meals, or even celebrating your cheat day? Just bear with me. Imagine that you want to eat the ice cream. Anybody with yes? Anyone with no? Come on, even right now looking at the picture, you might feel like having one.
I think everyone will be a yes here, Jitesh.
Yeah, some of them are still thinking, huh? So, for a minute, folks, just imagine that you're going to have an ice cream. And in this exercise, what we'll do is we'll do some basic decision making skills. Wherein, once you think of having an ice cream and you imagine that you would like to have an ice cream, right? You go through a lot of incremental step of decisions. Wherein, first you will have to make a choice between a cone or a cup kind of an ice cream you would like to have. And then, once you decide to have a cup or a cone, right? There is another thing that will come into a picture, the flavor part. I know, looking at the picture, it's mouth watering right now, and you might be going through a lot of emotions while making that decision. Because when we go through this decision making journey, right, there is a sentimental part which is there in you while choosing and making that decision on the flavor as well. Some of you might have gone into your childhood memories and might have chosen or thought of having a favorite flavor. Or some of you might have dared yourself to try something new. There could be few more who would like to settle by choosing only one flavor, or some of you might have thought of having a mix of all of them, right? Friends, this is the rush of emotions that you go through. And to make it more complicated, right? And to create more confusion, folks, how about choosing a topping now? Initially, we decided to just think about having an ice cream. Then you went through a decision making of whether to go with a cup or a cone. Then you had a flavor to choose, right? And on top of it, now it is topping. I know it's too much, but it's mouth watering as of now. So, while choosing topping also, most of you would like to stick to one, or most of you would like to go crazy and have all those toppings on the ice cream. And well, once you finalize what you would like to have, right? You place an order, you pay the bill, you hold the ice cream in your hand, start eating it, you start feeling the ice cream. So, folks, let me ask you one important question over here. How did you felt about the overall thought process of having an ice cream, right? Don't worry. Let me try to answer that. Listen carefully. What just happened? In reality, there is a hidden journey that you all experience. You go through multiple forms of emotions, such as feeling of joy by just thinking of having an ice cream, just a mere thought of having an ice cream. Next comes the happiness of actually relishing the ice cream by imagining. You imagine, right, that you are having an ice cream. So automatically you felt happiness of relishing it. Then comes the part sadness. Because once you start eating the ice cream, licking the ice cream, tasting it, there is a sadness feeling, of course, because ice cream is going to be over sometime soon. Then there is a next stage where you go through a desire to eat more because you have not satisfied your craving yet and you would like to have one more ice cream. Then there is a stress related feeling, right? Anxiety or a fear. What if you don't like the flavor which you dared yourself, right, to try something new? And at the final stage, there is an anticipation. There is a surprise element of finding out a chocolate bite at the end of the cone. And I'm sure all of you might have gone through these feelings, right? So that's all. That's the ice cream exercise overall. And hope you enjoyed it.
Let's just pause for a few minutes here, okay, and let's just think what just happened. So we went from cerebral to visceral thinking in seconds. What do I mean by cerebral and visceral? Cerebral means it's related to the brain or the intellect part of your brain. Visceral thinking relates to more deep inward feelings. So you started with thinking on a solution on the brain teaser that I asked to thinking a very innocent thought, of having an ice cream. And then it then turned out to be a turmoil of emotions, like Jitesh explained. How do you think a human being manages to do this? And that too within seconds. The answer is on your screen. It is because of this part of your body, the brain. This is how your brain looks right now. What do I mean by right now? Well, interestingly, somewhere around 250 million years ago, the red part that you see, the reptilian brain, was the only brain that the human body had. It was responsible for body's vital functions. Cut and fast forward to 150 million years ago now. That is when the limbic system was developed. It is responsible for emotions, judgment, and behavior. This limbic system was the result of humans socializing more with each other than the previous era. Now cut and fast forward to 2-3 million years ago. That is when the neocortex was developed. This is responsible for imagination, consciousness, and abstract thought.
Yeah, I know Pragati just shared some very hot topic related to the brain, right? And we believe you all would be very curious to know more about this. So let's quickly try and understand on a very high level how our limbic brain works, our emotional brain works, because that's the one that drives every decision that we make. Don't worry, we won't go too much into understanding of neuroscience. Let's watch the video.
When we hear the word emotion, most of us think of love, hate, happiness, or fear. Those strong feelings we experience throughout life. Our emotions are the driving force behind many of our behaviors, helpful and unhelpful. Just where do our emotions come from? Our brain is wired to look for threats or rewards. If one is detected, the feeling region of the brain alerts us through the release of chemical messages. Emotion traveling from our brain through the body. When our brain detects a potential threat, our brain releases the stress hormones adrenaline and cortisol, which prepare us for a fight or flight response. When we detect or experience something rewarding, such as someone doing something nice for you, our brain releases dopamine, oxytocin, or serotonin. These are the chemicals that make us feel good and motivate us to continue on the task or behavior. In these instances, the feeling region of the brain kicks in before the thinking part. Sometimes the reactions of the feeling brain are so strong that it dominates our behaviors and we're unable to think rationally in the moment. Our emotions hijack our brain. While many of our emotional responses happen subconsciously, our thinking can influence our emotions, and sometimes this can be unhelpful. Just thinking about something threatening can trigger an emotional response. This is where we can manage our emotions with conscious thinking. Our emotions play a powerful role in the way we experience the world. Understanding and regulating our emotions through our thoughts and behaviors can help us take greater control of our brain and achieve our goals.
Now, after watching this video, it's very interesting to know more about it. But most of you might be wondering, what is this stuff doing in the UI conference? Well, here we are, the inevitable UI and the human psyche. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the UINXT. I am Jitesh Dedia, and I like to surround myself with the people to exchange ideas and build high-performance teams.
And I'm Pragati Retekar. I love to code, love reading, and having discussions that rack my brain. Lastly, but not the least, I'm a big Potterhead. Now, let me take you through our thoughts of how we feel the human psyche is the driving force of a good UI. Tell me one thing, whenever you visit a website, or maybe say your banking website, what is the first thing that you see? Or maybe you get into your Tesla and you need to pull down the windows. You'll have to interact with the console, right? What is the first thing you see there? The answer to these questions is the UI, the interface. The better it is, the better experience you'll be giving your users when they use the product. Thereby goes the quote, the interface is the product. Now this led to an evolution of UI for us, evolution of the interfaces that we interact with. It went from CLI to GUI. We went from being a hardcore keyboard users to switching to GUI where we use mouse as well to interact with the UI. Now this evolution of it made the UI better, so naturally it led to people getting hooked to few things like Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. There, I'm sure every one of you will be having multiple other applications or products which you are hooked to. But why do you think a human being is hooked to these products? Newness is what keeps you hooked to these products. Every time you visit Facebook, you'll see new status updates put in by your friends. Every time you visit Twitter, maybe you will have a new tweet added by your favorite author. This newness is one of the many things that helps keeping a user hooked to a product. So now you're thinking, what would you do in your product to make a user emotionally hooked to it? Right? I don't know about you, but Globant has found few ways through which we can achieve this. Let me show you a few products that we have built in this process. How would you usually give feedback, say for anything? If I tell you, okay, you need to fill in a feedback, the usual options would be, say, filling in a form, or maybe calling the customer care and giving the feedback there, or maybe going to the website and giving your feedback on the website directly, right? Well, we thought, how can we make this thing more natural? That is where we built the feedback wall. The user of this feedback wall can give the feedback by raising his or her hand to the top to indicate very happy. Keep it on the lower side to indicate not happy. And if the answer is happy, the hand remains on the midsection. I know we have so many kiosks to gather feedback these days. They usually have inputs placed horizontally, going from lower to higher, from left to right. We thought, what would be a more natural way of doing this? If we think about it, we would represent an uplifting feeling by raising our hand, and the opposite by keeping our hand on the lower side. This way, we are interacting with the system in a more natural way, aren't we? Let me show you one more example. This is a squats calculator that we built. We used artificial intelligence to detect the right posture for it. Now, when the pandemic hit us, we were confined to our homes, right? We were missing out on our regular workouts at our gyms. This gave rise to a lot of fitness products where they would stream training on your tablet, phone, or any specialized piece of hardware. But the biggest drawbacks that most of these products had was that it was not able to correct your posture while you were exercising. This product was developed to help you get your squats right. Like I said, we have used artificial intelligence to detect that your posture is correct. So you do not hurt yourself in the process by doing the squats wrong. This gives you a similar experience of having a personal trainer, doesn't it? That is what your personal trainer does. Helps you do the squats with the right posture in the right manner. Let me show you one more product.
Hello, my name is Ada and I am your personalized digital assistant. You may ask any banking queries that you have.
How long does it take to open an account with your bank?
It's just a 3-steps process which can be completed in less than 5 minutes.
Can I link my other bank accounts?
Yes, you can add all your bank accounts and get them in one glance. It's just 2 clicks from accounts landing screen.
Now here, a Glober is interacting with a 3D model of Ada, our mascot. Now think about a use case where you have say your kid's favorite cartoon character in the 3D model here, and it answers each and every question that your kid is asking that character. And we all know how many questions kids ask, right? So think about the enhanced user experience, enhanced learning experience you would be giving the kid. Think about, say, the character is teaching the kid something through this application. Wouldn't that be something amazing? But why do we feel the need to replace the virtual assistant with a human figure?
Because it helps to develop and demonstrate empathy. Empathy is again an emotion. Anything that has a human face to it, you have a natural connection to it. Not only it enables us to experience and show understanding and compassion, but also builds connection, bond, and trust. It's nothing but leveraging the oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin hormone, the happy hormones, which we saw in the video. And those hormones actually promotes trust, empathy, and bonding in relationships. My friends, this is a very good mechanism to address the psychological diversity of today. Now, let's transcend towards the enterprises, where psychological diversity has become an important element for businesses, because psychological diversity addresses the crucial point of inclusivity. And my friends, when we all hear or say about inclusivity, we always think about accessibility, which is a very small part of inclusivity. Let me explain you what is inclusivity. It is a practice that provides equal access to opportunities and resources for the people. Inclusivity is about targeting everyone, targeting diverse mindsets, gender, race, ethnic background, and age. In simple words, being accommodative. Let's take a look at another scenario or a perspective where during the first lockdown, you are totally disconnected physically from your friends, colleagues, and relatives. My friends, that was the toughest time that we had. Most of you might even be under stress. And that happened because of the stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol, which got released in the body and built that depression state as an emotion. So, how it really fits into inclusivity here? Well, having products that enable humans to talk to a virtual assistant who has human elements would always uplift your emotions, correct? That means our brain releases these happy hormones like again dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin, which get fuel the body and help in regulating your mood and develop the reward system of the users. This is what the next generation of products have to keep in mind when building their UI. As a pro tip, the more users invest time and effort into a product, the more they value it, because this is where the product needs to hook the users emotionally. Again, how? Correct? Well, let's take a revisit at the evolution of the UI, which we saw earlier when Pragati showed us the journey from CLI to GUI. Earlier, the development shifted from CLI based systems to GUI based systems, where people or businesses transitioned from using hard QWERTY keyboard into a software based GUI based systems. Now, the trend shifting rapidly from GUI based to cognitive load integrated UIs. Like, as we saw in the past slides related to the products which had gesture controlled UI, right? One of the feedback wall that we saw was a natural response of the human mind. In the next product, which had a voice-based UI, where you spoke to a digital assistant with a human body, you felt a connection to it, right? It's a way better feeling than talking to a faceless assistant. When you can see a human element in the assistant, you automatically feel more connected to it. You trust it more and it uplifts your mood. And the another journey that we see from GUI to the cognitive load is the mixed reality, which has augmented reality, virtual reality. And my friends, this is what we call a natural UI. Natural UI is the way forward, friends. It is the inevitable UI that will be driven by our brain. Why our brain? Because that is where the emotion comes from. Remember the limbic brain. Remember the stress hormones, the happy hormones. And friends, this is what will make the future a more interesting place to be in.
Lastly, connecting the dots backwards. We saw how UI is driven by human emotions without us really knowing about it. The key point here is recognizing this impact and shaping your UI to handle this effectively. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time. And if you have any questions, do write to us at uinxt@globant.com, or both of us will be available at the virtual booths for any further discussions. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Speaking of the inevitable, let's talk about robots. I have always been fascinated with robots because they're machines that mimic life.
Well, robots are not just something that is limited to geeks now. Everyone can have their own robots. Even you, sitting at home watching UINXT, can have your own robots now.
Wow. I'm even more excited to know what our next speakers have to say. Let's welcome Mayank Vora and Kunal Nawate to shed some light on this topic.
Hey, hello everyone. Welcome to the next talk on the robotics for masses. I'm Mayank Vora.
And I'm Kunal Nawate.
And today we are going to discuss the scope of robotics and IoT with one of the most loved and programmed language, which is JavaScript. So let's dive in.
So let's see what is JS in robotics is. So we already covered the JS in robotics topic in depth in our previous presentation. So here is a QR code. Just scan it and go to the YouTube video, and you can get all the details starting from how to set up a microcontroller platform, connecting the wires, and lighting up an LED. There you will get enough information to get started with this setup and get familiar with Cylon.js. Whatever you will see in this entire session is built using these three frameworks, Cylon, Johnny 5, and Node, which is nothing but under the hood is JavaScript. So the possibilities are endless. Do check out our session and you'll get a grip of robotics using JS. So let's see why JavaScript is required.
Yeah. So thanks, Kunal. So why JavaScript for robotics, right? Because the very first reason is the JavaScript is the language of masses, and this is the most programmed language in the world. More than 1.8 billion websites right now are powered by JavaScript, and not just that, JavaScript is omnipresent. We know that the backend side development using Node.js, your AR/VR solutions, AI solutions, your connected home, connected cars, your robotics and IoT solutions. Now everything is there, and that's the reason that JavaScript is getting much traction in every aspect of development, and so for the robotics and IoT. And what good at technology if we can't solve the real world problems? So in our last Text Insider event, actually we gave you the clips of robotics in JS and what is its potential, and we promised that we'll be back in UINXT and we will present you the real life solution. So today we'll present you 3 such solutions using our JavaScript and the robotics. So let's see the first solution. So our first solution is smart irrigation system. So we all love gardening, and I think most of us are doing it at our homes, but we always get worried that when we need to travel somewhere, who will take care of our plants? And that time I think we need to discuss with our friends or our neighbors to take care of this responsibility. But this really becomes difficult in such COVID situations. So one of our actually fellow Glober, he was facing the same issue and he wanted to travel to his hometown. So that time we thought that why don't we automate this process, and why can't we use robotics and JavaScript with that? So let's see the implementation, how we have built that.
Welcome everyone, this is Arpit Soni. Today I am going to demonstrate you our smart irrigation system. So let's start. Here you can see our hardware setup. We have designed the system in such a way that it will sense temperature, humidity and soil moisture, and based on those data it will decide how much water is required for a plant on daily basis. Also we have configured the system to trigger our pump every day at 11 am. So as you can see in the left dashboard that we are getting a note that pump is not yet started, which will automatically start in a moment because we are about to touch 11 am. So now you can see that pump has started and water is coming from that outlet, and it has stopped now. Also, if you see on the dashboard, the status has updated with all good and with some other details. Here we have some components like Raspberry Pi microcontroller. Here we have used a relay to control our pump and solenoid valve. Here we are using temperature and humidity sensor, and we have inserted one soil moisture sensor in the plant. We are using one pump and solenoid valve to control the water outlet. In addition to this automated system, we have given a forceful manual trigger option so that we can remotely trigger the system and it will start the pump based on sensor data and the initial configuration we have provided. So let us try the manual trigger option as well. So I have clicked the button and it has instantly started the pump. Now I would request my colleague Saad Ansari to brief you about the dashboard. Over to you, Saad.
Thanks, Arpit, for the brief on the hardware. So we are currently on the dashboard of our application. The first thing we see is today's details, which have the most recent information about pump temperature and humidity and water output. We have integrated the weather API and sensors to get the exact temperature and humidity at runtime and calculate the correct amount of water required for the plants. We can use this system for indoor garden, outdoor garden, as well as farm. The next we see are the charts where we can see the water quantity in relation to humidity and temperature, and we also have a daily water output chart. We also provide a manual trigger which can be used in case of repairs or faults in the system. Next, I would like my colleague Hemant to give a brief about the plant configuration. Thank you.
Thank you, Sat. Next, we will move to irrigation tab. Here we have a plant details form to gather basic information from user for irrigation system, like what kind of planting he is going to do, its location, number of plant types, and the requirement of water. Once we gather all this information, we send it to our irrigation algorithm. In the bottom, we can see one entry for planting tomatoes in an indoor garden. So that's it from my side. Thank you.
So friends, I hope you like this implementation. This current implementation actually automates the process of gardening in our home space. And we have also, there is a dashboard which you can use in your mobiles to see all the necessary updates while you are out somewhere. And also there is a provision, you have seen that we are actually doing a plant-based configuration. A specific water quantity which is required for plants, it will just provide this much of water. And this is just using JavaScript and its framework and the prototype platforms which we just saw. But imagine this was just a prototype, but the future implementation, I would say at the large scale implementation, we can use it for the farming, where actually we can decide based on our crop that how much water it needs and when it needs to supply with the help of our sensors. And similarly, we can use this approach for water management system at huge reservoirs or water quality systems checking with the help of such sensors, and just we need to connect to some prototype platforms and we can achieve it easily. So that's the simplicity of JS. Behind the scenes, I'll just quickly give a glimpse that what we need a prototype platform. It can be your Raspberry Pi, it can be your Arduino Uno or some other, which just needs to connect it to your sensors like temperature sensor or a soil moisture sensor, which can take those information from that sensor, and based on that, it can decide when it needs to trigger the relay and the water pump to get that much of water what we have provided the configuration. So this is just a basic setup and we can achieve this goal. So that was the setup for the smart irrigation system. To talk about the second solution, which is intelligent notification system, I would request Kunal to present that. Over to you, Kunal.
Thank you, Mank. So, are you guys bored of the fuzzy offer announcements at the stores and malls we visit? So I am. So we built an intelligent notification system that will only notify you when you want to get notified. So the application won't be troubling you, no annoying notifications anymore. So there is a smart device located at the counter, which can be configured remotely to emit a specific ID. And that ID is being used by mobile phone to send it as a payload in the backend node server. So node server, which notifications to send, and we see a list of notifications on the mobile screen. So imagine you walked into a superstore to shop some snacks. So offers and labels on the racks are often misleading and create confusion, right? So no more. Just pull out your smartphone, open Notify Me app, and see what offers are running on the favorite section of the store. So the device located nearby is actually emitting the required information to get the specific offers and promotions for you. I mean, if at all you want to get a very specific offer, you just need to walk nearby to that section and you will get the offer on the Notify Me app. Sorry. So are we done with it? Not really. So once you finish with the shopping and you reach nearby to the counter, you can actually get notification on the Notify Me app for the bank offers. So the different cards that you may have, and you can save more as well. So let's quickly take a look at how the Notify Me app works in a real demo.
Hi, we are at the nearby superstore and we'll see how Notify Me works on the counter. Let's go.
Once we enter the store, we can open the app and start looking for notifications to pop up. I see Kunal looking for offers that he can get on the store. Let's see if we have any offers. Yeah, we found some. As you can see in the image, we have Arduino with BLE on the counter at the shop, which we like to call it as ARD129. Now let's see the dashboard where we can configure our devices.
In the mobile app, you had seen there are multiple notifications that are popping up.
In order to configure those notifications, we can use Notify Me dashboard. In Notify Me dashboard, at landing page, you can able to see there are multiple sites that has been added. For Baskin Robin, we had seen that notification. There is one more site, Reliance Trend, that is currently in disabled format. In order to configure notification for Baskin Robbins site, we have to click on Configure Notification button. Then in left corner, you can able to see there is a device that is a part of that site. You can enable and disable the device to stop the notification for particularly for that site. There is a description where the device is located. Here you can see the total number of notifications that you have added, out of which you can see 3 are enabled that you had seen in that notification pop-up. There is one that is currently in disabled state. If you check notification detail, what details we have in a particular notification, we have notification name. This is for the user who is adding the notification. Then the notification type. Then we have description about the notification, the start time of that notification, end time. Then we have 2 more fields, the push start time, push end time. This is used for, let's say, for particular day. If I want that notification should be pop up in between like 11:25 to 6:25, the duration, then we can add the time slot as well. Here we have actions in order to enable and disable that notification. In right side we have actions as well, like disable particular notification, copy that notification, edit the notification, and delete the notification. Here you can see one more field, the duration for that notification. In right section there is one more button in order to add the notification. Using this button you can add the notification name, the notification type, then description, start time, push time, and by default behavior that I had already stated to you.
All right, so we just saw how this solution can be very useful in one of the use cases, that is retail. Imagine you can get token when you reach the bank without even standing in long queues, and that too without compromising the social distancing, which is very much required these days. So how cool if we get a dynamic menu card when you walk into a restaurant, which will include happy hour details, offers, and the discount details as well. So let's see how this intelligent notification system is built behind the scenes. So what we did here is we used a microcontroller based prototype platform, Arduino, which has an external Bluetooth low energy adapter. This device can be configured remotely and designed to emit a specific ID. So nearby mobile phone detects this Bluetooth device and the ID is sent back to the node server. So once the mobile keeps on scanning for Bluetooth devices nearby when app is in use. Otherwise, it won't scan for the nearby devices. There's a similar way what Arogya Setu does. This ID is configured in database using Notify Me dashboard to configure the notifications associated with that specific ID. So once a request reaches to a server, the server just sends back the collection of notifications for that specific ID, and you could see that entire notifications on the mobile screen. Very simple, very straightforward. Let's move to the next solution that we have for you is solution number 3, home automation. So what comes to your mind when you think of a home automation? So first few questions would be like, it must be expensive, must be having a high maintenance. Partially true. So traditional home automation systems are not only huge on cost, but they need a replacement or major modifications of your existing electrical setup, which is true. So not only that, it needs a professional help, and overall process is time consuming too. So you will always have to wait for that professional help in case something goes wrong. So I'm not actually defaming any home automation systems, but I'm just trying to tell you what we built is a very kind of similar small prototype using a rudimentary hardware and JavaScript to surprise you. So we made an intelligent LED lighting at home, and that too using the existing hardware. So there is no need to procure any expensive hardware. So if you have an existing LED lighting at your home, You can even do it by your own. So let's take a quick look at the demonstration.
Hi everyone, today I'm going to demonstrate how we used Firebase, React and ESP8266 boards combined together into this setup of mood lighting. Okay, in this setup we have some RGB LEDs in the triangles and some LED strip lights over there. So now let's see how we control them. We have this simple dashboard which we will use to control all these LEDs. I have these toggle buttons for switching them on and off. Again, I have some functions like blink or breathe or maybe adjust some brightness. Okay. For RGB LEDs, we can control the color just by using the color picker over here. If my mood is a bit angry, I can choose to more calming color like blue, or if my mood is very low, I can choose some more vibrant color like purple. We also have added gesture controls to this system. Let me show you. See, when I see close, LED strip light switch off. When I say open, the LED switch light starts. So this is how we can control them. We have also added some voice recognition commands. Let me show you. So when I say start, the LED strip light should start glowing, and when I say stop, it should do likewise. So this is how we control our mood lighting setup from our React app. Thanks.
So you just saw a cool video of controlling LED strip lights using a prototype platform, some do-it-yourself tools, and our beloved JavaScript. So the demo not only has control of the system remotely, but also supports gestures and voice controls as well. So you can imagine the possibilities that we can have in future. So this is a very basic implementation. Let's see some more possible implementations that can be done. So first is going to be Smart Switch. Just by tweaking our previous setup, we can actually create a smart switch to turn on or off some of our appliances at home. Similarly, a system that can sense the temperature of your bedroom and control the air conditioning accordingly. So there is going to be a robot which will sense the temperature around and change the temperature of your air conditioning accordingly. If you have webcams lying around, attaching that camera to a prototype platform, you can actually get access to any corner of your home. I mean, that is definitely a cool thing, right? So let's quickly take a look at how we did it behind the scenes. So we are actually using ESP8266, which is nothing but a microcontroller based prototype platform, an LED strip. The strip is connected using the transistors and a relay. This entire setup is controlled using Raspberry Pi. So Raspberry Pi here is acting as a major node. So major node is required to control some minor nodes. So currently you just saw a minor node created. There could be multiple minor nodes in your home. So there has to be a major node which can control that. So if at all in future, if you build something similar to this of this sort, Raspberry Pi will actually control that as a main node. So let's move on.
Yeah. So friends, we just saw the three implementation which we presented, and it was just using the JavaScript and the robotics. So and we have seen that the JS is evolved over the time, right? It was just a scripting language, and now it is actually ruling in the every aspect of development. Your user interface, we have the frameworks for that. Your server-side development using Node.js. Your AI-based solutions using the libraries like TensorFlow.js or your Brain.js. Your AR/VR solutions using the libraries like 3JS, and now the robotics and IoT solutions. And we have the frameworks, the Node.js, the Johnify, Cylon.js, and the power of JS is enormous, right? And being a JS developer, I can proudly say that the future of JS is quite bright. But one more thing, there is a surprise for you guys, and this is specifically for more for the Iron Man lovers. So let's see a quick video for that.
Hi everyone, this was for all the Iron Man fans out there. So now we'll see how we leverage Firebase and Johnify with this 812 app to show you the power of IoT and augmented reality. So with this button click, we can open and close the helmets of Iron Man. So this is just a one possibility that we can do. Imagine what we could do with a full body suit.
Okay, yeah. So that was the surprise, and we actually printed this Iron Man helmet, which actually you are seeing that the model which we have, and then we place those LED lights in the eyes, which actually along with the servo motor in the for the jaw movement, and now we with the help of our robotic solutions, we are able to control an Iron Man helmet, right? And did you also notice the model which right now is available in the mobile is an augmented reality model. It's not an image, it's an AR model, and with that we can actually try to control the things. So that was just this solution was just built out of passion, and we were just trying to just few cool things. So we brought you 3 solutions today, and we will be coming with more integrated solutions with our mighty JavaScript soon. And if you want to know more things in detail, that how we did it, how we built the every bits and pieces, please visit our virtual booths. The virtual booths are available, and we will be there for next 1 hour, and we will try to answer all your queries, and we can also discuss the things in detail. Also, you can email us on this email ID uinxt@globant.com. Thank you everyone. Thanks for joining today and listening to us, and let's meet at the booth.
Thank you everyone.
Thank you.
You might have been seeing some virtual booth teasers just like the last one the entire day. Wondering how to join them? Simply join the link mentioned below at 7 p.m. today, and we will be waiting to tell you a lot more about these cool things. You can bring your questions, ideas, suggestions, or even open our eyes to something new. So 7 p.m. is a deal.
Well, until then, don't forget to tweet #UINXT. We have some really great goodies for you in store. What a day it has been, right? Let's recap. We talked about making technology work for the environment, took a deep dive into the human psyche to understand how we interact with the UI, and took the ride down the robotics lane to see how that new wave is changing our lives.
So, as we wind up an exhilarating series of talks today, we have a mind-blowing lineup waiting for you tomorrow. So, make sure to join tomorrow at 5 p.m. to witness more cutting-edge and impactful ideas come to life at this very stage. If you want to know what's in store for you tomorrow, make sure to visit our website at UINXT 2021.
Well, remember, our journey has just begun. It is a 3-parter, and it has more to explore than Lord of the Rings. So don't forget to explore, and don't forget to come here again tomorrow at the same time. See you there.